I'm 56 from the U.S., from North Carolina originally, so I live in Hawaii now, so flew all the way from Hawaii here. So the question as far as why I'm here, to me, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil.
Now, I'm very proud to show you some exclusive first look footage of our Oracle series. In our Oracle series, we bring together experts on a variety of subjects to get right into it when it comes to the most difficult and contentious subjects of our time. We've already made an episode on the military industrial complex and the deep state, and it's this episode that I want to show you an exclusive clip of. I spoke to Max Blumenthal and the incomparable Mike Benz and the brilliant Kim Iverson about the recent assassination attempt and the extraordinary connections that Ryan Ruth has. That he's definitely someone that will be on FBI watch lists. It's inconceivable that he wouldn't be. He's been to the Ukraine. He's been recruiting people. What an extraordinary individual he is. To get Mike Benz's insights and Max Blumenthal's insights is fantastic. Have a look at this exclusive bit of our Oracle series and let me know if you've seen better insight and commentary into the Ryan Ruth assassination attempt than this.
The fact is what this guy was doing. He's obviously something of a crazy person. And the way that I currently see it, just based on extremely preliminary research, is that this guy appeared to have been some sort of, as I see it, it appears likely that this person was some sort of subcontractor of a subcontractor for the recruitment effort to bring people from Pakistan to Ukraine. Now, there was a big influx after 2014 of ISIS fighters to Ukraine. They were basically trying to stuff up bodies almost for the past 7 years to try to top up the ability for the Kiev government to retake eastern Ukraine. And the idea that this person was just a humble construction worker from North Carolina, this guy was involved in the mass acquisition of passports from people from the most intense CIA conflict zones that we have. And his whole Facebook, I've archived hundreds of these posts where he's talking about, I've got thousands of passports. Send me your passport. Send me your passport. I need your passport because the only way I can bring you is to get you a visa is if you send me over WhatsApp a copy of your passport. His website actually has instructions for all these ISIS fighters, effectively, to come to Ukraine, saying, don't talk to your local embassy. He says this twice on his website in big, bold, all caps, do not talk to your local embassy first. Literally, send me your passport info, get on a plane, go straight to Ukraine, or go to Poland and then take a bus to Ukraine. Don't tell anybody. And when you understand, so, I talked about this last night, but there's a whistleblower named Michael Springman, who is the chief of the visa division of the Jeddah consulate, the U.S. State Department's Jeddah consulate in Saudi Arabia, in the run-up to 9/11, and he wrote a book called Visas for Terrorists. And it was about how everybody around him at the U.S. consulate in Jeddah was working for the CIA. The CIA is basically the underside of the State Department. They just do the covert work, the plausibly deniable work that the State Department wants to do, but has to effectively outsource to them. And so he was talking about how basically everybody else at the embassy, everybody else at the consulate was CIA, including his State Department boss, who was also working for the CIA. And remember, at the time in Saudi Arabia, John Brennan was the chief of station for the CIA in Saudi Arabia. John Brennan would then go on to be the head of the CIA, the entire CIA for the Obama administration. But in this book, Visas for Terrorists, he talks about how people were showing up with shady or fraudulent passports, and that he was told by the CIA folks around him and by his boss, who is again working with the Saudi CIA there, to issue these no-look visas to fraudulent passports in order to bring people to the United States bring terrorists to the United States for military training, to move terrorists around the world. And this guy, Ryan Ruth, appeared to be doing the exact same thing. In fact, some of his posts even show that he appeared to have been working with, in his own words, the U.S. Embassy in Kiev. So this guy is working with the State Department. He's doing effectively military intelligence, human trafficking of terrorists, and he's even back channeling to get no-look visas for these terrorists. So it's it's kind of extraordinary how deep the rabbit hole goes on this. I don't think he would have been formally employed by the agency. I think the agency worked with a subcontractor. The subcontractor worked with dozens or maybe hundreds of people like Ryan Ruth, whose jobs were to scour Telegram and social media and WhatsApp for interested people from the Arab world to come to Ukraine to provide additional, human cannon fodder for the war on Russia.
Max, it seems extraordinary that within 24 hours, Mike can have accumulated such an extraordinary litany of insights with regard to what's essentially a breaking news story. And it's a further indication that there are sets of relationships now that are established that are going to be increasingly difficult to conceal. Your investigative work, as Mike alluded to at the early part of his answer, has brought you to, it seems, a great deal of personal risk. And I wonder, as you continue to report on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, escalating crisis in the Middle East and various geopolitical issues, if you feel that the way that these stories are unfolding, and I mentioned this to Kim just prior to your arrival, particularly as we approach the election, do you get the sense that the consequences for people like you that openly communicate about these matters might get even harsher? And also, how do you continue to remain sanguine and rational when reporting on matters that, even just quietly listening for the first 15 minutes here, induces in me a kind of yawning terror?
Well, yawning is the operative word there, because I got my time zones mixed up. So I haven't had my coffee yet. So I might not be as sharp as your other guests. And Mike did a really good job of framing Ryan Ruth as someone who could not have possibly had their hands clean of government contacts. There's simply no way.
We can't continue to bring you this beautiful content without the support of our partners. America, listen up. First, a massive COVID-19 spike with 1.29 million cases reported daily. Then the World Health Organization declares monkeypox a global health emergency. What will they do next? Well, apparently it's going to be a bird flu summit. These aren't just coincidences. It seems that they're calculated moves to keep us fearful and controlled. Would you agree? Were you prepared for the last pandemic? 48% of Americans don't have any emergency supplies ready. We saw how the medical and pharmaceutical industries failed us last time. Are we going to count on them again this time? It's time to take control. Get the Contagion Emergency Kit from the Wellness Company. It's packed with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, Tamiflu, and budesonide, and a nebulizer. The treatments they apparently didn't want you to have. A few clicks, and this kit will be at your door. Act now, protect your family, be proactive, and be prepared. Order your Contagion Emergency Kit today. Visit twc.health/brand. Use the promo code BRAND at checkout to save $30. That's twc.health/brand and use the code BRAND to claim your discount. These kits are limited and only available in the United States of America. God bless America.
And I was just this morning trying to plow through the rest of his book, Unwinnable War, a 291-page de facto manifesto that he put for sale for $3 on Amazon. And I was able to glean a lot of insights into his thinking last night. But then today I just came across a page where he's posing with Jose Andres of World Central Kitchen, who's a very close ally of the Biden administration, of Tony Blinken. He's a State Department culinary ambassador at a major USAID event where they were rolling out new technology for the Ukrainian citizens that was deeply dystopian. I can talk about that in a second. Jose Andres was seated right in front of me in a VIP seat. And then there he is in Kiev with Ryan Ruth. Ryan Ruth was, definitely mentally unstable, but I think we need to put him into a larger context here of other people who are mentally unstable, who were attracted to the Ukrainian battlefield, who are also grifters, kooks, mercenaries, killers. Some of them were actually fleeing murder charges in the US, as we've reported at the Gray Zone. and they all flock to something called the International Legion or the Georgian Legion, which is run by a Georgian warlord named Mamula Mamashvili, who himself is a CIA. He's for sure a CIA asset. He has meetings on Capitol Hill with top lawmakers, military officials, goes on tours of the US, has a special visa to travel around the US. He's a proxy that has been used in the war on Russia. And he's someone who's accused by eyewitnesses and Ivan Kachanovsky, who's written this peer-reviewed paper on the Maidan assassination that drove the bloodshed in the Maidan Square in 2014 and led to the ouster of the elected president and the current, the current regime coming into power, the nationalist oligarchic regime coming into power in Ukraine, basically setting the stage for war. There was this series of massacres of protesters in the square. Many people were saying, well, the fire was coming from a hotel controlled by the opposition side, the Ukrainian nationalist side. And this guy, Mamula Mamashvili, is implicated in bringing snipers there, Georgian snipers. There's so much material on this. So this is the guy who runs the Georgian Legion. And Ryan Ruth comes to Ukraine through this, along with, as I said, killers like people who are fleeing murder charges in the US, white supremacists, other people like Malcolm Nance, who are fanatical, resist Trump, MSNBC NatSec commentator who, according to Ruth's book, appears to have been friends with him. And it's in this context that I think Ruth was kind of radicalized and decided that he was going to, my theory, which seems pretty plausible, is he decided that while he wanted to assassinate Putin, he talks about this at length in the book, the easier thing would be to assassinate Donald Trump, especially after a major security breach or having another would-be assassin expose how weak Donald Trump's security was. He managed to get 300 yards from Trump at his personal golf course. This is someone who's been around people with weapons. So we have to learn more about what the government knew, because Ryan Ruth would be the perfect person for the FBI to follow around because he has so many contacts, and for other intelligence agencies to follow around. He's gathering so many contacts. Today I found a page that Ryan Ruth runs called the Taiwan International Legion, and he was trying to raise up an army of volunteers from Ukraine to move to Taiwan, where he thinks the next conflict will be with China over the Taiwan Strait. He puts the contact info of all sorts of people, including people from the Middle East that he has brought to Ukraine, up on that page. It's archived. It's still live. Anyone can look at it. Go call some of those contacts. He has journalistic contacts from NBC, from Newsweek. This is someone who is in the mix, who is very motivated. And then he's back. He's, flying back to the US. He has a background, as you probably already mentioned, of someone who was arrested after a hostage standoff in 2002, or some kind of armed standoff where he barricaded himself in a building with an assault weapon. How is he getting around? Who's following him? Did the FBI encourage him in any way in his activities? What did they know about him going to the Trump residence? These are key questions. And I think one area where we can learn a lot is through direct messages on Twitter, where Ryan Ruth maintained a prolific presence. And who controls those direct messages? Who has access to them? Well, we're told as Twitter X users by Elon Musk's new regime that they have access to our DMs and can read them at any time. Ryan Ruth's account was nuked on this supposed free speech platform. We don't know what happened to the DMs, but presumably these would be in Elon's possession, just like the Twitter files were, and we would know who he was communicating with and how. So I think there's a lot that the public should know, and there's a lot clearly that the government wants to cover up, which is why they nuked all of his social media accounts.
I shudder to think what you might be capable of after a double espresso, Max. That was Incredible insights there. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, that will be coming soon. That's our Oracle series. There's already so much fantastic stuff up on Locals right now. Become an Awaken Wonder. The link is in the chat right now. We do Bible studies, we do meditations, we do Russell Brand stand-up breakdown. We let you ask questions and I answer them directly, and coming soon is the Oracle series that you just saw. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.